You can still hear me? Tim?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
We got about one more minute before we can call this to order. So if everyone just wants to hang tight and or just listen to this real quick announcement, we just ask that if you are not participating in the public hearing, please mute your microphone so that you're not adding to the background noise. We do appreciate that. Makes it easier for everybody to be able to hear, and we're recording this so that, and it's also being broadcast live on YouTube, so just be aware. The other thing that we do ask is just when you go to speak at the beginning of your case, please just state your name for the record so that we can, have it noted properly and attribute what you say to who you are and your relationship to the project at hand. So, Dennis is here. We do have a full complement of board members. It is 5 o'clock, so and we do have representation from both cases. So, Dennis, if you'd like to take over and call this meeting to order, we can get started.
All right, bringing the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is approval of minutes of the January 12th session.
Danny, this is Don. I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes.
All right. Do I have a second?
I would second it.
Who's that?
John Witherspoon.
All right, John. Any discussion? None hearing. Let's go through.
Do you want me to call the roll, or do you want to call the roll?
Please do.
All right, I will do that. Don Nye.
Aye.
Lionel Lawson.
Aye.
John Thermos. You're on mute, sir.
Yeah. Aye.
Thank you. John Witherspoon.
Aye.
Thank you. And Dennis.
Aye.
Thank you.
Approved. All right.
All right. We then move on to new business, old business. I apologize. There is no old business to discuss. We move then to new business. The first item on the agenda for new business is TMS number 388-0000-563, 161 Alpine Road, zoned PUD, Plan Development District, owned by Donna Brusky and Brenda Marsiglia. Variance request to reduce the required rear yard setback for an accessory structure from 5 feet to 1 foot, ordinance section 2.10. As stated in the title, this is a variance request to reduce the rear setback. For plan development districts, each one has its own particular zoning. In this neighborhood, that rear and side setback for an accessory structure is 5 feet. we are looking at the property here, and they are requesting to reduce that rear setback down to 1 foot. The shed, I believe, is in the back corner, as we can see from the pictures here that were provided by the applicant. Based on my evaluation of the 4 criteria, unfortunately, I don't believe that it meets the 4 criteria. I don't believe that they're
I think we lost you, Tim.
extraordinary conditions based on the size of the
Tim.
property.
Tim.
Yes.
Last thing we heard was, I don't believe you disappeared for a bit there.
Give me just 1 second. I have to get back onto my remote connection to my desk. So
We can hear you now.
bear with me, please. See if this works. All right. Can everybody see the screen again with the staff report?
Yes, Dennis?
Yes.
Yes.
We never lost the screen, Tim. We just lost your audio for a minute or so.
Okay. On my end, I lost my entire connection to my remote computer, so I apologize. As I was saying, to go back over, just to summarize, concerning the 4 criteria, I don't believe extraordinary conditions exist. Based on the size of the property, the shed could potentially be moved to meet the required setback. Other properties in the area do have similar lot shapes and sizes. They are fairly regular shaped rectangular lots. Utilization of the property will be reduced, but not eliminated due to the existing setbacks and easements. The engineering department has approved the shed location within the easement, and detriment will not be caused to other properties by the issuance of this variance on the property. So those are staff's comments regarding that, and I can turn it over to the applicant, and if they have anything additional to add, she's more than welcome to make a statement.
So I would just like to say that the shed is aligned with all the, if you look at our lot and you see where the fence line is, those trees that remain behind our fence belong to us, and that is our property as well. The shed aligns itself in the same realm of the tree line. So I guess I can't understand why there seems to be an issue with the placement of the shed, as once again, it is aligned with those trees that are part of our property as well. So other than that, I mean, I'm not an engineer, and I'm not familiar with a lot of, lot talk and blueprints and all that, but that was just my main thing, is it's aligned with those trees, which belong to us as well, because our property, as you can see, that back fence behind the shed goes further back, and that is also our property. So I just want to state that it's all aligned with those trees as well, that supposedly are in an easement.
So I just want to clarify from myself. What you're saying is that your fence line is not here on this back property line here. It's actually here, so to speak. And that tree that's directly behind your shed is here.
That in the pictures, I mean, this plat really confuses me. So the pictures are better for me, if you will. But yes, so this cutout, this notch back here, that tree that's directly behind yes, right there, that belongs to us. Those trees to the right, if you will, those are our trees. They belong to us as well. We just did not want them inside the fence area when we had the fence put in. So once again, the shed is placed aligned with those trees that belong to us as well, which is part of our property. Does that make sense?
It does, but I guess this doesn't necessarily show the exact layout of the fence line, apparently.
I mean, I believe I had asked you, Tim, because it was easier for someone to come out to our property and actually visually look at it versus me trying to explain it through an email. And I believe I had asked you, Tim, if you would be willing to come out and take a look or send somebody out and take a look.
The problem is we do not have the equipment to be able to identify the corners of the property to accurately show where that is. And we do have to base this on the information provided in the applications. So that is why this is based on that. And yes, I said you did ask that, and I thought I had communicated that we do not do that. We're not equipped to do that, and the case was based upon the information provided. So this is where we're at. I hope it's accurate. Is really what it boils down to.
Excuse me. This is Dennis. I have a question.
Yes.
Is that rear fence line on the property line, or is it forward of the back property line? And if so, how far is it off the property line?
It's forward because it only butts up on the front part of that tree that you can see from the picture. And our property actually goes right behind that tree. So that fence is butt up against the front of the tree, if you will.
All right. So the question is, how far is the property line from the fence?
Mm-hmm.
Because evidently you're saying actually the property line goes behind the tree.
That's correct.
So what is the distance from the property line to the rear fence? The reason why I ask it is you're asking for a variance from 5 feet to 1 foot, but the way you're talking, it's that fence is closer to the house than the property line than you're indicating.
So the fence is closer to the house. Is that what you're saying, Dennis?
Yeah, yes, because the fence
Yeah, well,
on the house
what
side
we're trying
of
to
the tree.
establish is that rear fence line. Yeah, where is that fence line in relation to this rear property line? If it is on the rear property line and the trees on the other side of it, then yes, we would need a variance. If in fact this is inaccurate and the shed is actually further forward and the rear fence line is off that with the tree here, then we wouldn't need a rear setback variance.
Hi, this is John Thermos. So yes, I think she has said that the property line is on the other side of the tree. If I heard that correctly, that tree visually looks pretty good size. It's a good 12-inch tree. And the fence can't be, isn't going to be right up against the bole of the tree. So I'm going to guess, and I'll phrase it as a question. Is it correct that the property line is about, let's say, 2 feet on the other side of the fence?
Yeah, probably about that.
And how far is the shed from the fence on this side?
I mean, we could go measure it. I could head down out there to go measure it. I mean, I don't know for
Well, just about.
probably a foot if
I can walk back there.
I mean, we can get back there. Our bodies can get back there. We can walk through the back. So there's room between the back of the shed to the fence. There's definitely enough room for people to walk behind the shed, if you will.
Walk sideways or walk kind of forward so your shoulders can actually fit through it.
Shoulders. Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking that we already have a setback of a good 3 feet, if not maybe 4 feet already. The back of the shed is something like 3 or 4 feet from the property line. Is that correct?
Yeah, the back of the shed is probably 3 to 4 feet from the back of the property line is correct, John.
Hi,
But
it's
still
John
less-
Witherspoon. Just a quick question. The image that Tim has on the screen, who supplied that image and put the shed location on there?
The one with the red squiggly lines on it,
Yes.
that would be me because I sent that to HOA because they wanted to know where we were placing it.
All right. And Tim, in the packet that you sent out on the background notes that you had noted that the need for the variance had already been addressed. Is this something that's come back up a second time?
No, I believe what they were doing was getting the shed permit to be able to have the shed after the fact. It had already been built there. They were told that they need to get the appropriate permits to have it there. Upon inspection of the application for the shed, it was discovered that it was within it appears to be within the required setback. So that is what necessitates the variance to allow it to stay in this location.
Okay, but we think that property line that you have that's directly behind the shed indication is not the fence.
Yeah, depending on, unfortunately, this was not clearly defined apparently. I assumed, or it was assumed during review, that that rear fence line, that notch, that rear
Right.
fence line was on that rear property line, and that the shed was pushed back into that, and it was less than 5 feet from the actual rear property line. If that is not the case, and the fence line is further away, say it's here, cutting across,
Right.
and the shed is actually moved forward here, they're not going to need the
Okay.
rear setback.
Right.
Well, it sounds like, John Thermos here, it sounds like it is in fact within the setback. So they would need a variance, but it's not a variance from 5 feet to 1 feet. It's a variance from 5 feet to 4 feet, which is a horse of a different color.
Any other questions? Don?
Well, I do
Yeah,
have,
this
I have
is,
one
yeah,
last.
this is
Sorry.
Lionel. I have one. Is the shed sitting on a concrete base now, or is it on like blocks?
It's on concrete blocks.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
My question was going to be, if our decision is that the variance is not granted and they go ahead and measure it and it is within 5 feet of the actual property line, then it's not an issue, correct?
Right.
Tim, would that be accurate?
I'm sorry, if you would say that again.
If our decision that the variance isn't warranted, but they go and measure from the property line to the actual shed, and that's 5 feet or more, then it doesn't matter if we grant it or not.
It wouldn't necessarily. I mean, it would allow them, if you grant the variance and reduce the setback from 5 feet to 1 foot, that would allow them potentially to move that shed further back. If it does in fact meet the setback, and you know, there's no sense in issuing the variance because it's not in violation of that requirement.
Right.
Any other questions? I'll make a motion. I'll move that we approve a variance to allow the shed to stand where it is. No. I'm not sure how to phrase it. Maybe Tim, you can help me. No closer to the property line than it currently is.
That can work.
I would second that. This is Don.
All right. This is Dennis. Any other discussion? Any other questions?
And so if this is a moment for discussion, I'll say that given the circumstances, I will vote for that motion. I don't think I would if it was simply 1 foot and it was just a matter of convenience to put the shed back, right up against the property line outside the rules. But this seems to be a different case. It's much farther away from the property line than was indicated. So I'll vote for this, but I wouldn't have. I think if the facts as seem to be laid out originally were correct. Just making that comment.
All right, if there's no other questions or discussion, I move that, let's go for a vote. John? Yea or nay? Yea or nay?
John Thermos, aye.
Other John?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Lionel?
Aye.
Dennis? Aye. Okay, that's everybody. So pass.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Come on.
Next item.
Next item on the agenda is for TMS number 15413070002 4306 Ladson Road, zoned UCMX, urban corridor mixed use, owned by Speedway LLC. Variance request to allow a digital price sign on the gas canopy, ordinance section 3.4.8B2. So excuse me. This, as I stated, is a request to allow a digital price sign on the gas canopy. The property is a Speedway gas station. It was recently redeveloped from a single small convenience store to a larger format Speedway gas station. They doubled the size of the overall property. it was actually developed under the prior zoning ordinance, chapter 32. With the passage of the UDO, though, the after development, the property, any changes to it need to come into compliance with the UDO. Based on the zoning, which is UCMX, urban corridor mixed use, there are certain conditions that need to be met for canopy signs here where I'm highlighting. Signs affixed or painted to the canopy above gas pumps at a gasoline service station shall comply with the following in addition to the signage standards in section 10.3. So the one that we're looking at here is the maximum area, 12 square feet per sign. As of right now, the current signage on the sign is on the canopy exceeds that 12 square feet. So any addition would need to allow for meeting that requirement. The staff's position on this is that there are no extraordinary conditions. The property was developed, as I said, under the previous standards. It has 2 ground signs on the property that are larger overall, 8 feet tall and 50 square feet per sign face than what is permitted in UCMX. Current sign standard is 6 feet tall and 36 square feet per sign. The canopy is very visible from both Ladson and Midland Parkway. And the canopy itself serves as clear notice that the gas station is present. The existing badge sign on the canopy exceeds the permitted 12 square feet in signage on the gas canopy in the district. Other property in the area is mostly developed and will not be negatively impacted by the proposed additional sign. Utilization of the property is not diminished by the strict implementation of the signage requirements. By applying for the new signs, they are subject to the requirements of that are currently in place, not the prior ordinance. And detriment could be caused to other properties by the issuance of this variance on this property. By permitting this sign, it would set a precedent for signage on gas canopies in the corridor, as well as within the town. It would be in direct opposition to the town's intent to minimize signage impacts on the corridor. The applicant has provided some backup information. As you can see, they already have signage, both speedway badges on both sides here, and they want to add the additional price changer there. That's what it would look like. They provided some snapshots of along the street. I also did the same. I walked the site. This is the sign on Midland. And then as you go along from Midland onto Ladson, this is what you see along there. Obviously, I'm on the sidewalk and not in the street. So once you get past the large power pole, that sign really comes into view, and you should still have enough time if you are making a snap decision on whether or not to buy gas to be able to see that sign, identify the price, and get in. I don't believe the canopy price change or will make much of a difference, my personal opinion. That being said, I know Mr. Michael Pitts and Megan from Speedway are on the call, and be happy to turn it over to them to address the case.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully, can you hear me? I had
Yes.
audio problems a minute ago. Okay, great. I wanted to thank everybody for hearing the case tonight. Really important. I know your time's valuable, so we'll get right to the point. Megan Smith is with our operations group, and she's here on the call. Will support me if I kind of falter in what I'm talking about. But basically, what we're asking for is, as Tim clearly indicated, is a pricer that we feel will actually help drive sales for this store. I don't know if you've been to our new location there. If you haven't, certainly welcome to come by and give us a try. But our bread and butter in this business is for fuel sales. It drives our inside sales. And even when you take into account the ravage to retail that COVID has played, we back those numbers out. We still look at what we used for our projections, and our sales are still down. For whatever it is, we did a beautiful landscaping plan. I'm not going to take away from that at all. It's a beautiful layout. But I feel like maybe we did miss an opportunity early on to negotiate a sign closer to the interchange. Consequently, we're in a situation now where we're trying to do right by the customer. Our Somerville customer, we've got several locations, but in this one, this is our showboat, if you will. And we are trying to drive sales using some method other than just the ground mounts, because it is a snap decision if you know we're already there. But for people that are heading to Dorchester or even coming off a trolley road onto Midway that have not been there yet, we're looking for something else that will be front of mind for them if they decide to make that fueling choice later in the day. And our competitive price is, like I said, the bread and butter for getting into their decision cycle. So it's just not a matter of hitting the interchange, seeing our sign, and making that stop. We do attract those customers, no doubt about it. But this is a long-term message we think will help us. And we're hoping to maintain with a low profile sign. This one that you saw that Tim presented, the digital pricer, is a low profile. They make them very broad, but we're trying to keep it within the spirit of the ordinance here. So that's why we're here tonight, to see if you can help us approve a variance for the addition of that pricer, so that we can recapture what we feel is a good part of the business we may be missing.
And just a little background, I'll add to what Mike said. So coming from strictly an operations standpoint, when we talk about the calculations that we use to gauge what fuel business we think that we're going to do, that's used company-wide. We've been using that percentage for years. So we do know that the fuel volumes that we forecasted, that with the traffic that we saw back in 2018, we thought that those numbers were very attainable at that time. We do understand at this point that COVID plays a little bit into that effect, but when we look at the forecast we made, that takes COVID effects out of it. And then when you add in addition to what Mike talks about, just the bread and butter of our business, several studies, not only throughout Speedway, but when we talk about, even if you Google it, number one thing that's going to drive people to C stores, first thing that they're going to see is the lowest price. So that's what's going to drive them in there. So as Mike mentioned, if you guys are looking at the picture of the current signs that he provided, when you're looking at the view of the canopy coming off of the interstate going down Ladson, going into town, that price you're not going to see until you get right up on the site, and sometimes even past it. So when we talk about that traffic, we had counted on those cars to be able to get to the gallons that we had projected. So, definitely looking for something that's going to help those customers see that, not only when they pull up on the site, but before they get there, so they have some time to get in there safely. So as Mike stated, definitely appreciate your time today and listening to what we're pitching, and hope to see that we can get this worked out.
I think we're open for any questions at this point, Tim, or if you have any information that you need from us.
I'll allow the board to handle that.
Tim, John Thermos here. You called out one item on in the ordinance about the sign height, but as I see the ordinance, it explicitly disallows lighted signs on the canopy. Is that not correct?
There is that too. Just give me a second here. Other standards, the use of internal illumination, including neon, is prohibited. So I guess that would be another issue that would need to be, be being a price changer and automatic, it's going to be lit in some way. So that would encapsulate both issues, both the square footage as well as the illumination.
Yeah, well, the picture that's shown is illuminated. I suppose they can volunteer other information. I'll remark, I drove this. I imagine the rest of you looked at it too. And I'll say, coming from Midland Parkway, it's entirely obvious. Coming from one direction on Ladson Road, it's as clear as can be. From the other direction, it's true. It's not as visible as it might be, as it could possibly be. But I'll say that I don't live there, so I haven't done business. I don't live along Ladson Road, so I haven't done business there. I live over near Central Avenue, and the two gas stations that I do the most business with, and I mostly do it based on price, and the signage is much less visible than these are. This signage is more visible than what I'm, than the stations that I normally use. So I'm just volunteering that thought.
Understand.
Hey, this is line 11 observation also. I went and rode around the station today and just circled the block and was looking at it. And if you're coming from like Highway 78, going down Ladson Road toward Dorchester Road, they were correct when they're saying with the landscaping and all, you don't see their price sign until you're almost past it. And it's an impulse sales driver to see the price and make the turn. It's almost that you wouldn't see the price until you pass the entrance. Thank you.
That's correct.
I would like to point out that the sign on Midland Parkway, it was a really huge lost opportunity. They could have moved that sign over to the corner and increase the visibility of that sign. This way you're not already past it by the time you see it. It would have allowed for the traffic coming south on Ladson Road to be able to see their prices, as opposed to having to rely on a pricer on the canopy. That sign would be highly visible here on the corner, and would be much more beneficial in my mind, and give them that opportunity as they come down and come through that intersection to see that and make that decision to come in and get their gas. I told them at the beginning but they insisted that they wanted their sign on Midland and perpendicular to Midland. So it's kind of a situation created by themselves during the design review process.
It wasn't me.
Right.
I just need to interject real quick. That is true. Everything Tim told you is true, and for that I have no comment other than we did have an earlier regime in the construction world, and that's definitely a fault for us. I am actually appealing though to your judgment tonight to see if there is anything you can do for us, understanding that with a community like Somerville and Ladson and our presence, we've got 7 to 8. I think Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, in the Somerville area, and I know even more in North Charleston. But I just want to say that we're doing our best to do these things right and by the community, and we really do understand the spirit of what the new ordinance is about. We did have a store there before. In this particular case, we did miss that opportunity when we were trying to grow that site. We actually bought the adjacent property. We came up with the expansion plan, and we probably blew it on that point, Tim. I really understand that. So this is more of a, here we are now, and looking at the mercy of the board to see if you can help us, because we do see a real problem with the service that I think we're providing to the customer here.
Hey, this is Dennis. One of the observations I had is if you would trim your trees up on Ladson Road, because part part of the problem of not seeing it is the trees are in the way. And you have to have the trees. I'm not saying remove the trees.
Correct.
And the same thing with some of the shrubbery, because you're looking at, as you come down, you're looking through that material that could be thinned out, and you would see that one that's on Ladson far.
That's a very good point. Tim's team actually worked with us in that endeavor, and we know as that landscaping matures a little bit, we should be able to do that and still be in compliance without having to, the trees are there. The monuments will always be the height and position they're in. So the canopy pricer was an added visual aid, if you will, and so that's the reason why we're trying to focus. We would definitely enhance the property as it ages and as those trees mature and things. So definitely a good point. Thank you.
What I'm saying is you would be able to see it, and you wouldn't need something up on the canopy. Because where that monument is, as you come down Ladson Road going I don't know, west or as you're going away from Dorchester, that's what's obstructing it. So if you just go out there and prune the bushes a little bit, trim up the branches on the trees a little bit, you'd be able to see that. That's a good view right there.
Yeah, that one. Yep, totally agree. That would help.
So.
I think what we're talking about too is on the opposite. That would have been a left end for that particular view, and over time that ground mount will play a better role. I think what we're also talking about are potential customers traveling to Dorchester Road that may not catch the sign that Tim pointed out that is offset towards Midland, and would actually catch the canopy pricer. Again, state of mind, front of mind, as they're making a decision later in the day, saying, wow, I just passed Speedway, that's their price. And again, it's a single unleaded, that's the driving price, regular unleaded. And then they get down to Dorchester Road, they're going to see what we're competing with. And I think they would find that, we're actually very, very competitive. But I think we're missing that. You guys have done a great job, by the way. Trolley Road, the growth on Dorchester Road is phenomenal. That was one of the reasons why our forecast, even back in 2018, looked the way it did. So,
and may I add is that I think that corner monument that Tim was talking about, that would better serve you also, rather than the one that's back there on Midland. Because you'd be able to see it as you come in on Midland, you'd be able to see the corner anyway, the way the road is shaped.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the power poles don't help, but that we have to live with that. That's the utilities, and so, but definitely.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question.
John, go ahead.
It appears that given the proposed location of the canopy, the traffic coming down Midland is not an issue because they can't see it anyway. The traffic coming from Dorchester down Ladson, they're going to see the other sign that's on the ground, the monument sign. So the location of the canopy appears that it's directed to traffic that's traveling down Ladson heading toward Dorchester.
That is correct.
All right. So, but there is no place for that traffic to turn in until they get almost even with the backside of the store, so to speak.
Yes. And
so by the time they go through that light, they're going to be able to see that other price sign before they have to make that decision to turn in. That's the way that I noticed it, because I went, like a few of you went and rode that as well, to look and see where that canopy, what traffic it's going to be drawing the eyes toward, so to speak. And it looks as if it's really focusing on traffic heading toward Dorchester, but they will be able to see that other monument sign before they have to turn in, from the way I looked at it.
And I think and with all due respect, I think that our biggest concern with what you're bringing up, yes, once they get through the light, they end up seeing the ground mount that's down there. But when we talk about congestion on this road and, the traffic counts that we pulled and that we see there daily, I don't know that right after you pass that light, when that ground mount that you're mentioning would become visible, if there's enough time for them to safely turn in there, which is why we're proposing that price pack for them to see it, you know, a ways back, so they can plan to either turn right onto Midland or continue down Ladson and use that access point.
I understand that, but it seems kind of going back to Tim's, and I know y'all may not have been involved originally with the design, but it seems like that sign should have been placed in a better position originally.
We definitely agree.
Yeah.
This is Lionel. I have another observation.
Yes, sir.
In other markets where you have other stores located, is the canopy signs, do you think it's effective? Can you see a plus in sales when having that canopy sign?
Yes, sir. I think that we've got it as a proven sign in a lot of our areas that we can allowed to use them. But I think if you go back to Murphy, BJ's, Costco, those kind of folks, it was the big box retailers that kind of started that trend. C-store industry probably followed suit just a few years after that, but it is definitely an eye turner. And again, to John's point, it is not as much an impulse sign as it is a state of mind sign, because like I said, you introduce other traffic on that road. As you're driving by, that sign is up. It's a visual look up as opposed to straight down, where there may be another automobile in front of them where they can't necessarily see it. But if they're stopped at that light at Ladson, I'm talking about heading toward Dorchester, that's an impact. Even heading back the other way, it's 2 lanes across, but it's still at a height where that visibility does put it out there. And so as far as do we know, it does work. We have improved sales in areas where we do use them. So that's why this was a choice to bring before the board tonight to see if you would allow this.
Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with my comment earlier where we talk about this being the bread and butter and the driver to the store. So if they see that before they get there, that's gonna, and I think that it hits it helps us 2 different ways. So as you mentioned, it states that we're there, but it's also impulse when they see it right there. And this is a known tactic that we use, especially in jurisdictions that don't allow goalpost signs, in areas where we have sites that maybe sit around a bend that you wouldn't be able to see a ground mount that would be there. And as Mike stated, when we do use that and we go that route, it definitely helps drive traffic to the store. And we do see a significant difference based off of what we're looking at in this scenario, if you were to compare, sales and financials.
Any other questions? Can I hear a motion?
Danny, this is Don. Can I make a motion that we approve the request?
Do we have a second?
This is Lionel. I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, John Thermos here. I'll argue against that motion, and here's my reasoning. The ordinance reflects the will of the people of Somerville as demonstrated by their elected representatives of putting zoning in place. So, there are allowances made for that zoning to be overridden, and we do have the power to do that. But generally speaking, we should not be in a position of allowing our opinion to take precedence over the zoning ordinance, over essentially the will of the people of Somerville. That's A. B, except in extraordinary circumstances, and there it's not our opinion. It's just no overall ordinance can cover extraordinary circumstances in all cases. So that's why this kind of appeal is in place, is allowed. Second is, in the town of Somerville says gas stations can't have these signs. You know, if it's allowed in this case, why would we ever turn down any gas station? You know, where do we draw the line? This is, I certainly can see how it's advantageous for Speedway to make this change, but it would be for any gas station. So what's the special circumstance here? The signs are not that, I mean, it'd be an improvement in visibility, certainly, but the visibility is pretty darn good as it is. So where would we draw the line if the next gas station that is not currently allowed to have that sign, you know, how could we possibly say no to any of them?
All right. The other John?
I'm going to have to agree with John. I don't see that this meets the variance, exceptional circumstances for granting it. I understand the rationale behind requesting it, but I just don't think it falls within the parameters.
I agree with you, with both of you. I'm just wondering what would be, one of the alternatives to move one of those monuments. But anyway, any other discussion? Okay.
Yeah, this is Lionel. I do. You know, they attached in here a spreadsheet showing the store sales. It looks like the store is not meeting expectations. So what's going to happen? They're going to close the store because we wouldn't let them have a sign.
Well, John Thermos here. First off, that's 2 months, and that's not a long time of we'll see what it looks like a year from now. That's not a long time to have fallen short. And I mean, how do we know that their expectations were reasonable to start with? I mean, I don't find that a compelling argument at all.
Well, this is Lionel again. I guess because my background, I'm pro-business, so let's take it to a vote and see what happens.
All right, let's proceed to the vote. Don?
I approve the request.
Lionel?
I approve.
John?
John Thermos, no.
John?
I deny the request.
And I vote nay also. Against it. Against approval.
So that's 3-2, and that request is denied.
Good.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Megan?
Thank you very much for hearing our case. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Sorry we couldn't accommodate you.
I totally understand. Can we come back in a year?
Technically, yes. According to the ordinance, you would need to wait a year to reapply for the same request.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. But we are here to serve the residents of Somerville. So we definitely respect the position you're in. Thank you.
But they could come up with a different plan.
Yes.
Like moving
Well,
that equipment and things like that.
I'm all ears. I'm all ears. If somebody wants to shoot me something offline, I will definitely run it by our ops group. So thank you very much.
Next on the agenda.
There is actually nothing left on the agenda. There is nothing under miscellaneous. We can just accommodate a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right.
Any
Excellent.
nays? Any nays? No nays.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good month.